Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Sam. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a reading vlog where I read my highest and lowest rated book on my Goodreads. I'm going to be starting with my highest rated book on my Goodreads TBR, which is Hannaford Prep, the complete series by J. Bree. This is a collection of 4 books that are all together in a bind up. And this is just what I had. So I'm going to be reading all 4 books in this vlog. And this has a 4.64 star rating on Goodreads, which is really high. I definitely went into this book having no idea what it was about. Like none. No thoughts. Just went in saying, okay, this is my highest rated and this is what I'm going to read. Because I think I got that prompt in my April TBR jar picks my prompts video. So I actually started this book yesterday and I finished the first book, which book 1 is called Just Drop Out, and that's the first year. So we're following our main character, Lips, who is growing up. She was part of a gang and had a very poor home life. And she gets a scholarship and is enrolled in Hannaford Prep, which is like a prep high school, I guess, with a bunch of rich kids. This is definitely a dark, I assume it's gonna be a romance, but this is a dark series. So definitely check trigger warnings. There's a lot of bullying and mentions of difficult topics. So definitely check the trigger warnings. But in this first book, we're kind of just following our main character going through her first year and getting bullied by all of these rich kids. And it kind of reminded me of Flock in there was like nothing really happening, but we're kind of just like seeing all these characters doing questionable things, but in a school setting. But by the end of it, I was hooked. I didn't want to stop reading. I didn't want to like put it down. This is all I wanted to read, and I wanted to know what was going to happen next. So I don't know if I'm just connected to the characters because like nothing's really happening, but I'm having a great time and I can see why it's rated so highly. I would probably rate the first book like 4 stars, but we're gonna keep reading and see where I end up. I'm actually going to be taking a break from this book to read something for another video, but I'm going to get back to it and I'll check in with you probably when I finish the second book, or if like something happens that I really have something I want to talk about. Hello everybody, I wanted to do another check-in because I have finished book 2 in the Hannaford Prep bind up. So book 2 is called Make Your Move, and it's like their second year of high school. I don't really know how much to really go into the rest of these books now because I don't want to spoil anything, but I love the series. I am very much attached to these characters. In book 2, we got to learn a lot more about all of our characters that we are sort of following. There's only a single POV, but we are like obviously learning about some of our other characters and the relationships that are formed in this one as well is a lot of fun and a little bit of like a breath of fresh air after book 1. It's been a little while since I read the first book, so I can't remember exactly what I said in it, but I do want to mention this is definitely a dark romance. Definitely check trigger warnings. There are a lot of topics that are touched on that can be very triggering for some. So definitely, if you're a sensitive reader, don't go into this book totally blind like I did. But I love it. I'm having so much fun. I don't know if it's just the book itself or the fact that I'm like really just binging this whole series. It gives a lot of the same vibes as Flock and as Magnolia Parks. So very much like a lot of toxic, horrible people, but also like the dark gang sort of vibe and tropes. They're also all supposed to be in high school, which feels very out of place. Like, to me, this feels like it should have been more of like a college romance as opposed to a high school romance, because some of the things, well, everything that is talked about and done is not high school appropriate. So I always forget how old they're supposed to be until they specifically say, oh, like such and such is only 16. I'm like, 16? You're supposed to be like at least 19 right now. Overall, I'm having an amazing time. I feel like as I'm reading these books, not much is really happening plot wise. It's a lot more just following like rich teen high school drama, but like dialed up to a 10 because they are all part of like sketchy gang families or families that are part of like illegal businesses and stuff. But I'm really enjoying. If I read either of these books on their own, I probably would have rated them 4 to 4.5 stars. But dare I say, I'm getting 5-star feelings. I'm having a lot of fun, and I'm just gonna keep reading and hopefully check in after I finish book 3. Although I do really want to finish this whole book this weekend, so we'll see when I can talk to you. Good morning, everybody. I wanted to do another check-in because I actually finished Hannaford Prep. It's actually Wednesday, so it's been quite a while since I have started this reading vlog. To be fair, I read a couple books in between while I was reading Hannaford Prep, but that book is thick. The bind-up says that it's half the length of reading all of the books individually, but that is a lie. The font in the bind-up must be tiny because it's like 4 Kindle turns on size 4 to be able to get one page. So it definitely took me a hot minute to finish that book, but I'm happy to say I loved it. I can't remember exactly what I said in my initial check-in about like the synopsis of this book. We're following our main character who is inducted into this gang organization sort of thing, which is called the 12. But she has a very traumatic backstory and ends up getting a scholarship to go to this prestigious high school in order to try to get out of the gang and crime life. In book 1, she's in her freshman year and getting bullied by all of the rich, snobby high school kids. And then it just sort of goes from there. I don't want to say too much, but where we start in this series and where we end in this series is it's really like vastly different because the overall themes are still there. But I really love our main character. She is a badass. She is part of this very well-known gang or like a group of gangs and criminal people who all have like individual skill sets, but she's incredibly intelligent and has a very large focus on the importance of school and how school is going to get her to where she wants to be in life and out of this current situation that she's in. So I really appreciated that. Also, the relationships that are built throughout this series are everything. The like found family friendships that you see more and more as the series goes on is fantastic. This is like a bully romance, I guess, without giving too much away. Each book increases in spice. This is a 4-book series, 1 book for each year of high school. The one thing I will say that I didn't love about this series is the fact that it is set in high school. A lot of it is incredibly unrealistic and very much like you're only in high school. Like there's no way that this is like not necessarily realistic, but almost like not even believable. So I'm not gonna lie, most of the book I just pretended that they were all like 19, 20 sort of age. And then also our main character mentions a lot about her body and like not being or like not looking a certain way, which was really annoying. And she was also just like very blind to some like obvious things that were happening in her like social circle. So that was really frustrating, but overall I had a fantastic time and I couldn't rate this anything less than 5 stars. I sat on this book. I don't know whether to call it a book or a series because I read it as one book, but it's the whole series. But I sat on this book for a few hours yesterday after I finished it because I was really battling with what I was going to rate it, whether I was going to rate it 4.5 stars or whether I was going to rate it 5 stars. But I finished this book, immediately needed more from this series and more from this world and these characters. So luckily there is a whole saga about some of our other characters. So I'm very excited to work those in and try to read those very soon because I absolutely loved the world and these characters that Jay Bree created. And after sitting on this book for a few hours, I couldn't stop thinking about our characters and like what they were doing, what's gonna happen next. And even throughout the like week and a half that I was reading this, couldn't stop thinking about it, couldn't put this book down. I just needed to keep reading and to know everything that was gonna happen. So I couldn't rate it anything less than 5 stars. Was it the best book that I've ever read? No. Was it the best writing that I've ever read? No. But this book consumed me, so I can't rate it anything less. The best way that I can sort of describe the like vibes of this is like a mix of Magnolia Parks and at least Flock from the Ravenhood series. I haven't finished the rest of the book, but gave like very similar vibes. There's not a ton happening plot-wise. There's a lot of like gang politics and like moves happening around the board on that front, which was very interesting and definitely kept me hooked in. But in terms of like chapter to chapter, there wasn't like a ton happening other than just trying to stay alive till graduation. So that being said, I definitely agree with the Goodreads 4.64 star rating. This was phenomenal. I absolutely loved this series and cannot wait to read more from this world and from Jay Bree as an author. The next book in this reading vlog is my lowest rated book that I have currently on Goodreads, and that is Sublime by Christina Lauren. This has a 3.16 rating on Goodreads, and this book is originally published in 2014, so definitely one of their oldest books, and this is shelved as teen at my library. So I started reading this book last night, and I got over halfway through. I still don't really know how to explain this book without like spoiling anything, so I'm going to do my best. We're following Colin, who goes to this preparatory school from kindergarten to grade 12, and both of his parents died in an accident, and he's sort of taken in with I think the principal of the school, and he's been living there since he was 6 years old, and this school is supposedly haunted. We also meet Lucy, who is a 17-year-old girl as well, and she just wakes up by this frozen lake and doesn't remember anything about herself, where she is, or how she got there. So we're learning more about the school and what happens there, as well as learning about Lucy and sort of getting glimpses of her past to try to figure out what she is, who she is, and what might have happened. This book feels very much like 2010s. This is definitely something that I would have read in like high school. I feel like the sort of paranormal romance genre was really big in the 2010s, and this definitely fits into that vibe. Plot-wise, there's not a ton happening other than trying to figure out Lucy's backstory and their romance. But it's a very interesting story, and I'm very intrigued. I could not put this book down yesterday, and I'm really excited to finish it. It's definitely not going to be a 5-star, but I'm having a lot of fun. So well. I finished this book. I feel like right after I did my check-in this morning, this book really took a turn. I was looking up some Goodreads reviews to try to put together my final review for this book. This is definitely something that I would have read when I was in high school, like 10 years ago. But this took a turn that I did not expect. This is a paranormal romance, which I'm sure I mentioned earlier this morning. This is very much like it definitely fits with the paranormal like romance theme of that time with like Hush Hush, which I never read, Twilight. I'm completely blanking on like any other paranormal romance right now, but I can say that I read a number of them, and this really fits in with the theme. This is fairly different to Christina Lauren's other books. Like I feel like a lot of the times they have like fluffy, fun romances. Sometimes they have like darker themes, but this is dark. I don't know necessarily what it was about this book, but I really felt like I couldn't connect to either of our characters. And a lot of the things that were discussed in this book or mentioned in this book, like the hauntings at the school and the way that Lucy looked to Colin, to name a few things that are just coming up to the top of my head, even a little bit of Colin's backstory. I feel like it was just touched on, but it wasn't really elaborated on. Like there wasn't any further explanation to why Lucy looked the way that she did to Colin. And as the book progressed, I had a feeling I knew that the way that this book was going to end, but there was still a part of me that didn't believe it would be possible that it was going to end like that. Throughout the decisions that our characters were making in order to try to be together, I just couldn't root for either of our main characters or their romance. It was also very physical. Like this also wasn't explicit, but I feel like I don't know, is teen different to YA? I don't know what. I feel like that age range is very gray. Our two main characters are 17. It's like the way that they talked and the things that they talked about and the things that they did were very much things that kids do in high school. But I also feel like they should have been 18, if you know what I mean. It wasn't explicit, but it was suggestive, I guess. I think I will say that I agree with the Goodreads average rating of this book. I think I will be also rating it 3 stars. This is a book I would have eaten up if I was in high school, and I did still enjoy it because of, I guess, that teen part of me. But this did not go where I thought it was going to go, and it was very surface level. So unfortunately, this was not a hit. But Hannaford Prep was a hit and would highly recommend that. Check trigger warnings. Honestly, check trigger warning for both of these books. It's kind of ironic that both of these books were dark in some regard, but that's just the way that my Goodreads books landed, I guess. Please let me know down below if you enjoyed this video. I think it was a lot of fun and very interesting to see what my current Goodreads highest and lowest rated books were, and I probably wouldn't have gotten to either of these books anytime soon or at all. So please let me know if you like this video so I can do it again. I had a lot of fun and I hope that you enjoyed watching. Let me know down below if you have read either of these books yourself and what you thought of them. I really hope that you enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!